The other day, I caught myself creating a massive amount of stress in my life for something that didn't actually need to happen. I was getting ready to begin processing the transmission release for the week, and as I started exploring what I wanted to do with it, how to make it a really good experience for viewers, I suddenly found myself getting overwhelmed. And I heard this voice in myself. We don't have enough time to do all that. It has to be released tomorrow. And then something cut through that thought so clearly it stopped everything. And it said, "Why do you think you need to do that?" Meaning, why do you think you need to release that video tomorrow? And I paused. Because the truth was, I didn't. So I actually walked myself through it. Did the guide say to release it tomorrow? No. Was there any real requirement? No. The video was already processed, already uploaded. All I needed to do was the documentation, so it would be easy. And then suddenly I realized this wasn't real urgency. It was something I had created. I realized I had just witnessed something I'll now call an internal urgency mechanism, or perhaps self-imposed urgency mechanism. This voice that says, it has to happen now, you don't have enough time, you need to do this. But when I questioned it, there was no actual reason, no real deadline, no external pressure. Just a narrative. And it was such a revelation for me to see that it was just me, no one else, no actual requirement. Just a small part of me that had already decided what needed to be done and was applying pressure to make sure it happened, to keep me safe. And yet I could feel what that narrative was doing in my body. The heaviness, the anxiety, the overwhelm, the contraction. And the moment I questioned it, there was space, relief. Even now, as I say this, I can feel my shoulders drop, my body soften. It was like my whole system went, oh, we don't have to do that. Because up until that moment, it felt real. Not because it was real, but because I had a whole set of reasons for why it needed to happen. Logical reasons, practical reasons, convincing reasons. And that's what made it so automatic. I didn't question it because it already made sense. But when I actually stopped and asked why, I could see it clearly. It wasn't truth. It was just a collection of reasons stacked together by a part of me trying to get me to act. And that's when a deeper realization came in. Urgency often masquerades as responsibility. It sounds like, I need to do this. I should do this. If I don't do this, something's wrong or something will go wrong. But responsibility is actually very different. Responsibility says, I will do this. I will do it well. I will choose the right timing. Urgency says, do it now or else. One is grounded, the other is protective. And in that moment, I chose not to follow the urgency. I chose alignment instead. And guess what? Nothing bad happened. The world didn't end. No one noticed. Nothing broke. Because it had all been created by me. Only me. Me. And then it got me thinking, where else in my life am I doing this? Where am I putting pressure on myself? creating anxiety or overwhelm for something that doesn't actually need to happen. And why was I thinking that I needed to do that in the first place? What was I being protected from? What was that part of me trying to do? And then it opened up even more. Where else in our lives do we do this? Because I don't think it's unique to me. Where are we putting artificial pressure on ourselves to meet some unidentified or unconscious expectation? To do a certain thing, be a certain way, make certain choices, live a certain way. And what would our lives be like if we stopped doing that? Because often we think we're stuck because of something external. Someone else, a block, a past life, something outside of us. But it's not always that. Sometimes it's just a small part of us that we're so used to listening to, we don't even realize it's running, playing out on autopilot. So I want to offer you something simple. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling pressure, try this. Pause, question, choose, act. Meaning, pause. Just stop for a moment. Question, why do I think this has to happen right now? Choose, is this actually true or is this a pattern? And then act from alignment, not from pressure. That one question, why, is powerful because most of the time we feel urgency and we obey it. We don't question it. We might not even realize it's happening because it comes with reasons, good ones, convincing ones. But when you do question it, you start to see something. That some of these pressures are coming from parts of you that were created a long time ago. Parts that learned, let's do this quickly so nothing goes wrong. Let's stay ahead so we can stay safe. Let's not mess this up again. Protective parts. But they don't always reflect our current reality. Often they don't. And this is where it connects to the bigger picture. Because we're not just clearing beliefs right now. We're shifting identity. We're releasing old patterns, old thought processes, entire ways of being. And I can hear some of you saying, yeah, but I've been doing belief clearing for years. But this is a subtle nuance. Because what I'm talking about here is a whole identity shift. It's like we're taking off a full costume and realizing there's something else underneath. Something lighter, more aligned, more true. And that's why it feels expansive and relieving. Like a breath of fresh air. And one of the ways you start doing that is by noticing these subtle internal patterns. Not the big dramatic ones, the small, quiet ones that run your day. The ones that say, hurry, do more, don't fall behind. Because when you interrupt that pattern, even once, you create a new experience in your body. And your body knows. Because when I chose alignment instead of urgency, everything softened. There was ease, there was space, and I could feel it. That moment of, I don't actually have to do that. Because I can tell you, did the world end when I didn't post the video? Did anyone even notice? No, they didn't, because it was all me. I was the only one creating that pressure, and that's what made it so surprising. We've learned to keep ourselves in a box, to keep ourselves in a cage. Even if it's a really nice cage with a really nice life. Because over time, we learned what not to do. The part of us that came online and said, ooh, we're going to preemptively stop that from happening again because that was a really sucky outcome. Let's make sure we don't end up there again. Let's stay ahead of it. Let's do it right this time. Parts. Running patterns designed to keep us from having those experiences again. Not bad parts of us, just protective parts. And over time, those patterns layer, they compound, until we don't even recognize when we're the ones creating the pressure, the barriers, the overwhelm, the feeling of being stuck. But the moment you start to see it, something shifts. Because you're no longer inside it. You're aware of it. And that's where change begins. Not all at once, but moment by moment, choice by choice. So I'll leave you with this. Where in your life are you feeling pressure right now? And is it truly external? Or is it something internal that you could question? The thing that keeps generating the overwhelm, the mental looping, the contraction, the heaviness, is it something you could actually change? Because even just asking the question, just becoming curious, can open the door. And once you see it, you'll start to notice it more and more. And that's how the next layer shifts. That's how we move closer to the soul we are, embodied. If something shifted for you while listening to this, I would love to hear. Have you noticed this kind of pressure in your life? Have you questioned it? Have you chosen something different? If you loved this episode, please like, share, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. It really does support getting the messages out to those who will benefit. And I look forward to being with you again next week on Embodied Soul.